I'm Ellis Martin. Join me now for a conversation with David Morgan of themorganreport.com. David co-authored the book along with David Smith, Second Chance. I caught up with David last week at the Gold Silver Summit in San Francisco. David, welcome back to the program.
Ellis, it is great to be back with you.
Now, a year ago at this particular conference, it was the beginning of, shall we say, silver fever. How would you say the next year is going to pan out?
Well, I think we're in a bull market. I think that, last year, gold and silver bottomed in like December 2015, and in early 2016, the market started doing better and better. So we have had a pullback here recently, and some of the bull people have been shaken out, but the strong hands are still here, and they're looking for better times ahead, and I think we're going to see better times in 2017.
When you're looking at a public company for an investment opportunity in the silver space, what's the number one? If you can only pick one thing out of the 3 or 4 things you should look for, what's the number one thing that means the most?
The people. The older I get, the more I understand, how important people are in everyone's life, how interconnected we are, and without the right people, everything else can line up. In fact, I'm going to tell a little bit of a story, Ellis, but back in the early days when I was, and I'm still learning the business, I'm trying to be a lifelong learner, but when I was getting grounded, my mentor at the time was Dr. Bill Green, and Dr. Bill Green taught geology at the University of Idaho. And he made a statement that I'll never forget. He said, David, if you find the right people, they will continue to work until they find something worthwhile. In other words, the right people work so hard that may find a project and it's not worth it, but they'll continue to find another project that is worth it. That idea never left me, that if you have the right people, they'll continue to work until they find something of merit. And I really believe that even stronger today than the day he told me that.
So if you have grade and you don't have the right people, that's still not that relevant?
Yeah, Colossus Minerals is one that was a huge mistake for us, and Rick Rule made the same mistake, and many of the stalwarts in the industry. Was the highest grade gold mine on the planet, and grade can make up for a lot of errors. You can have poor management, you can have high labor costs, you can have a lot of things. If you got a high enough grade, it will overcome a lot of sins, but it doesn't overcome them all. And that project had a watering issue that no one was really being, let me say, totally straightforward about. And because of that, it ended up being a disaster. They got way over budget and things just basically went south rapidly. So there's a prime example from my personal experience of a very high grade, probably highest grade gold mine on the planet that failed.
Well, that's a great answer to that question. Grade is not everything if you have the wrong people. It just may not work and may be a bad investment opportunity. Any particular companies you want to talk about that you really like, or should we just go to themorganreport.com?
No, I think we could talk about a few. It's one that I put, my reputation on. Every time I talk about a company in the public domain, I'm taking a risk, and I know that full well. So there's one company that I followed for 2 years before I put anything on paper. And because I just wanted, I'm very conservative. I want things to work out right. So I call it the Mobile Mill, and we've talked about it before on your show. And I was pushing that pretty hard. And it turned out that everything that the company said about the technology is factual. It's true. Unfortunately, it was a rather convoluted share structure. And the people that started it tried to rectify the situation and did a good job financially of moving away from what we'll call the shell or the initial company, and they did it in a straight-up legal, lawyer-approved manner. However, you cannot dictate justice. You can write it into law, but that doesn't mean everyone's going to obey it. So the company that was supposed to tender shares to the new company, failed to do so and started selling shares into the marketplace, not per the agreement, and drove the stock price down miserably. So another example of good people associated with not so good people that took a great company from a starting position that was very low and should have gone lower because of their own personal self-interest, again, disobeying a signed contract. So there's another one that's kind of a black eye for me. That's all been rectified now. The shares have been sold in the market. It's recovered, and I'm still very positive about the company as a speculation. But another one I tried to be so careful about, and it ended up kind of backfiring on me.
You've got a new book out. Tell us about that.
It's called Second Chance, and it's written by David Smith and myself. It looks at the mistakes that we made in the first bull market and several exit strategies for what we think is going to be the largest bull market in precious metals ever. I just finished my lecture here at the Gold and Silver Summit in San Francisco, and the speech was about the final leg of this major bull market. I think we're going to see a massive move up into precious metals over the next 3 or 4 years. And because of that, we wanted people to be prepared for when those days do come, how to take some profits off the table and not do a complete ride where it goes all the way up, and when it starts to fall back, they just hold and hold and hold and watch it come all the way back down. So lots of anecdotal stories, lots of methodologies, lots of kind of plans and strategies that you can utilize to protect your profits. And we have one called the Sacrifice Fly, where you can get a bit greedy and try to catch the exact top of the market without very much risk.
And how do we find the book?
Well, it's on Lulu.com. So if you go to Lulu.com and you type in Second Chance by David Smith or Second Chance by David Morgan, it'll pop it up. It will be on Amazon shortly. It isn't right now. And there is a website URL, and I forget what it is. I think it's secondchancebook.com. But what you can do is Google Second Chance by David Smith, and it'll probably bring you to the URL, and you can buy it off the URL.
David, it's always a pleasure to see you and speak with you. Thanks so much for joining me today in the program.
Well, thank you for having me, Ellis.
I've been speaking with David Morgan of themorganreport.com at the Gold Silver Summit in San Francisco. Listen to the segment again on our website, ellismartinreport.com, or download the entire Ellis Martin Report on iTunes or TuneIn Radio.